What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Puncher's Point. We are coming off of Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall. Jack Catterall gets his get back and gets the unanimous decision victory over Josh Taylor. Excuse me on that pause. I really had to think about it because they zone does their judging a little bit differently, but regardless, there's going to be a lot of mixed opinions about this fight. As a matter of fact, me and Breezy, we got mixed opinions on this fight. So it's going to be a very good thing to touch up on, you know? Obviously, this was a very exciting fight, a very entertaining fight. You know what I'm saying? Both these guys came in there and they put up a great fight. They really did. And I think that this is a fight that is going to get a lot of different opinions. It's going to be a fight that gets a lot of different mixed reactions. And overall, we're going to get into it. We're going to break this fight down the same way we always do through the four steps, the game plan, entertaining, hype, and impact. We're going to break it down into those four categories, and then we're going to give it a final grade. But with a little extra step, Breezy, let me pass it on to you. First, we'll go to game plan. But before you give your game plan, tell the people how you had this fight scored. Me personally, I had this fight a draw. I felt like Josh Taylor was up 2 rounds before the 11th and 12th, and Jack Catterall won the 11th and 12th round, making it a draw. So, Breezy, I know you got a different opinion than me.
For my scorecard, I had an 8-4. I had Jack Catterall winning. I felt like early on in the fight, Jack Catterall, he just was establishing that jab, and I just, from the looks of it, just seemed like Josh Taylor couldn't really do anything about it. He couldn't really adjust to the jab. And as you saw the fight, you saw that he wasn't just standing there. He was using his angles. He was cutting angles off. He was just, and this is why me and Michael constantly say the most important punch in boxing will always be the jab. Look at what the jab just did to Josh Taylor. And I'm not saying that, oh, he stopped, oh, he knocked him down, or no. There was times where he did hurt Josh Taylor. But this is why we say that the most important punch in boxing will always be the jab, because the jab was leading Jack Catterall throughout the whole fight. The game plan, the game plan was pretty smooth. I mean, look at it. I mean, he came in there and he boxed with Josh Taylor. Now, at times, Josh Taylor did try to get rough and get with him, but Jack Catterall stayed composed and he used his jab. And to be honest with you, and like I said, I understand some people have it 7-5, like me. Some people have it 8-4. I give the game plan about I low key say a 9. I mean, although Josh Taylor had his moments and he had his rounds, I just felt like the way Jack Catterall established the jab and he kept them at bay at times, and not only that too, but also at times making it a tough fight, getting him backed up, using his angles, not staying in front of Josh Taylor, not letting himself be a hit and goal target for Josh Taylor. I think that for the most part, Josh Taylor, he just couldn't get past the jab. So basically, to me, it was like a fight of, you know, Jack Catterall controlling with the jab. So like I said, I don't really, I won't say it's like a 10, but I will say it was a 9 because of just how impressive he was able to keep that jab on Josh Taylor the whole fight.
I think both of these guys had pretty good game plans, and I felt like in the start, I felt like Catterall had a very good game plan. Jack Catterall, I mentioned it in the prediction episode. He throws every single punch with authority. He throws every single punch with mean intentions, especially that jab. He wasn't throwing just any light jab. No, that jab, it was hurting Josh Taylor. Not only was it connecting, but it was hurting Josh Taylor. And I mean the follow-ups behind the jab too, Breezy. I mean, he was cracking Josh Taylor early, and you could tell that Josh Taylor was definitely feeling those effects. Me personally, I gave the first 2 rounds to Josh Taylor, and then the next 3 went to Jack Catterall, and then Josh Taylor started coming back a little bit in the middle to late rounds. Now with Josh Taylor, what he did very well was we talked about how good of a counterpuncher he is, and we talked about how we felt like he was a very good boxer as well, and how he was able to basically find his shots and connect with them. More aggressive, Josh Taylor started creeping and slowly making the scorecards a lot more slower. Now, towards the 11th and 12th round, Jack Catterall needed to clutch up, and he did. I'm gonna be honest, Breezy. I think this game plan gets a 9 as well. I think it gets a 9 because Jack Catterall came in there with the right game plan. Use that jab, be aggressive, make Josh Taylor feel every punch, make his intentions basically counter punching and letting Jack Catterall know you're not going to bully me throughout the entire fight. I am going to make sure that this is going to be not only a tough fight for you, but I'm going to make sure every single time you go to engage, you are going to feel a counterpunch. You are going to get counterpunched. And I think overall, because of that, because both guys were able to kind of feel each other out, read each other, and basically make the adjustments that they needed to make, not only with Jack Catterall starting and Josh Taylor happened to adjust to what Jack Catterall was doing, but Jack Catterall also happened to get himself back into this fight for the last 2 rounds. So for me, I give that game plan a 9 as well. I truly think it deserves to be a 9. Now, we're going to get to the excitement of this fight. This was a very, very exciting fight. I mean, both of these guys gave the England crowd reactions, but if we're just talking about the fight in general, I mean, there wasn't a bad round. There wasn't like if we're gonna talk about excitement of this fight, I feel like the excitement of this fight's got to be like an 8. But basically, if we're gonna break it down, as far as excitement, this was a very, very exciting fight. As a matter of fact, you know what? I give it an 8.5.
Fight, I would have gave it like a 5 because I feel like a lot of people already had in their mind who was the true winner in the first fight and who they thought was going to win in the second fight. But as far as the fight itself, I agree. 8. It was times in this fight where we saw Josh Taylor, he pushed back and he would charge at Catterall. And we thinking, we like, oh man, like he's boxing him up. He's finna piece him up. He's getting him against the ropes. Oh, is Jack Catterall? Is he gassing out? Is he gonna slow down? Is the pace gonna slow down? Is the pace getting too much for Jack Catterall? Is Josh Taylor finna finally take over? Is he finally finna take over the scorecards? Is he finna finally bounce back and we get a possible another controversial decision? No. What ended up happening is that even with Josh Taylor coming back at times, the spurts in the fight, and he was pushing the pressure on Catterall, Catterall will come back too at certain spurts of the fight, and he will hurt Josh Taylor. And I was sitting there, and I was like, wow. Because one thing I will be honest about, I didn't know too entirely if Catterall could or would hurt Josh Taylor, and that got answered today. He could, and he did. And at times and points, I was like, yo, I was like, is there a possible chance Taylor might get stopped? And I'm gonna be real with y'all. When I watched the Teofimo versus Josh Taylor fight, I was like, shh. From the looks of it, it seemed like Tio might stop him. So we've seen times where Taylor's been hurt, and obviously he's bounced back, he's recovered and whatnot. But excitement, I give it an 8, and maybe even an 8.5.
So if you had to, so around which ballpark would you say 8, 8.5? Something tiny that either bumps it up or bumps it down. What do you say?
I think the times when they was in the middle of exchanging and like they was just teeing off on each other, and we see both guys kind of get dazed or kind of get, hit with good shots and almost get hurt, and at times do get hurt, that which bumped it up to 8.5.
I'm gonna be honest, Breezy, no belt on the line. It's a rematch from a fighting with Josh Taylor. Is this the decline? Is this him falling down the hill? And as of this fight, I gotta give it like a 6. It would be even lower if there wasn't such, if you wanted to use that to bump it up, you could. But I honestly think that the stakes were pretty low for this fight.
I give it 7 purely off the fact that it was supposed to be a get back fight for Jack Catterall. Anything other than that, I can't give it nothing else past that. I mean, because like you said, no belts was on the line. This wasn't no true, contender match or a number one contender or a mandatory bump up spot. This was just a sole purpose of get back for Jack Catterall. Just off the simple purposes of a get back type fight. I only gave it a 7.
Hardest one because we don't know what's next for Jack Catterall. Ryan Garcia, if he decides to come back, obviously that whole fluster cluck, to put it in a PG terms, is out there. Rolly Romero, I mean, he was a champion at one point too. There's a lot of things going on, but what impact would you say that this has on? I got to give that a 6 as well because I don't know if this fight is going to lead up to anything great going to be getting Taylor versus Catterall 3. But I really like to get your opinion on that as far as impact.
I give the impact about a 4 or yeah, a 4. I mean, let's be real, right? We had the controversial decision in the first fight. We had the second fight, Catterall won. But guess what? Josh Taylor's probably gonna want a trilogy. And we saw Bob crawling the ring, snatch the mic up like he was in Compton or something like that. And he started spilling words about how they did Josh Taylor wrong and he ain't gonna never let an American fight over there again, even though none of them are American, but that's besides the point in itself. But I give it a 3. I don't feel like there's no true impact. Let's just say there is an impact. Let's just say that there is a next matchup. Let's just say that he does get a title opportunity. I would preferably like to see what he does with a Matias first. But if we talk as so impact, I don't think this really changes anything about 140. So I really give it a 4.
The fight itself was great. You know what I'm saying? But if we are grading this fight off of those 4 aspects, and I chose those 4 aspects very, very carefully because I feel like those 4 aspects truly make a great fight. It is hard to get a perfect, you know what I'm saying? It is hard to get a 40 out of 40. To put it into perspective, Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk are at a 9.48. That fight might be considered one of the greatest heavyweight fights of all time. And it had everything: stakes, impact, excitement, and overall, just the game plan itself was great by both guys. That itself is a great fight, and that's at 9.48. This is at 7.25. Overall, it was a good fact. It doesn't make a great fight. If I'm gonna say this right now, this is no diss to Jack Catterall. If Josh Taylor won this fight, the impact would be bigger because now all of a sudden we're talking about Josh Taylor being back into that 40-pound picture, and we're talking about him possibly fighting for a belt because Jack Catterall dominated Josh Taylor and knocked him out. We'll be talking about how Jack Catterall all of a sudden made himself a contender because this fight was close in some people's eyes, and because this was a back and forth fight, regardless of how you graded it, we're going to get the trilogy. So I feel like the impact, the stakes weren't that high for this fight. So overall, it will be our lowest graded fight. But overall, if we're talking about just the fight itself, it was a very, very good fight. Now, we've obviously talked about the trilogy, but before we end this episode, Breezy, is there a fight that you would like to see Jack Catterall have, or is there a fighter you would like to see him go up against?
Since sake purposes and how it's usually done throughout history, it only makes sense to do the trilogy. But we're not talking about the trilogy. Like I said, if he does get one of those title opportunities, I would really like to see how he do against Subriel Matias. I like to see his style against a style in Matias. It would make for an interesting fight. So you have Matias, maybe, just maybe. I want to see how he do against Tio also, because the styles make fights. We saw how Tio did Taylor. Then we just saw how he did Taylor. How would they do against each other? So trilogy. And if not the trilogy, I would like to see how he does against Matias and Teofimo Lopez.
This to me is my favorite option because Matias needs that big fight, and he hasn't got it. Now I'm not sure if it's all on Matias's side or if it's on the other fighter's side. I've seen Shakur Stevenson give him high praise and everything like that, but Matias versus Catterall would be fireworks. Like, seeing what Tio did against Josh Taylor, like you said, and Jack Catterall finally getting his win against Josh Taylor, I feel like those two would have a pretty good fight as well. But something tells me Teofimo would school him. I just feel like Teofimo as a boxer is a lot more polished than Jack Catterall, and that's no disrespect to Jack Catterall, but Teofimo, I mean, he's got the experience. He was the first guy to expose Josh Taylor, so I think Teofimo is on a step above Jack Catterall right now. Overall, the trilogy would be a great thing, but I would love to see Jack Catterall versus Matias. I would love to see that fight. I would love to see that fight first. And then if you want to go and do the trilogy with Josh Taylor, it makes a big fight. So overall, in this order, Matias, trilogy, Teofimo Lopez. That's how I would rank it. And if you want to go Pitbull Cruz, I would like to see that fight as well because both of those guys are definitely knockout artists, and I feel like that would also produce fire roast as well. But obviously, time will tell with both of these guys what's next in their career. Obviously, most likely we are expecting the trilogy. Bob Arum went on his rant on DAZN saying that he would never let another American fighter fight in a British crowd. Josh Taylor is Scottish, so that didn't make any sense. Look, Bob Arum, you're a legend, but I think they should have took the mic away from you before you said that. Eddie Hearn, he was real honest. He's a Jack Catterall guy. He was real honest. He said, I believe Jack Catterall won, but the scores were a lot closer than what the judges gave. And I do agree with Tony Bello. Me and Tony Bello had the same opinion, which was a draw. I truly agree with him on that. So overall, again, mixed reactions in the boxing world. I think overall, man, we got to give Jack Catterall his flowers because the way he went in there in the beginning and the way he used his power punches, the way he got Josh Taylor in trouble, it was beautiful. And the way that Josh Taylor responded in the middle to late rounds to make it a close fight, in my opinion, I believe both of these guys did a great job. So shout out to them. But with that being said, you know what, Breezy? I closed out the last episode. Would you like to close out this episode?
Puncherspoint, we up every single week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and some Saturdays, as you seen today. Make sure y'all stay tuned in with the X. Make sure y'all stay tuned with the threads. Make sure y'all tap into the Instagram. Be on the lookout for more news and updates. And be on the lookout for more things we're doing. Each season we have, we're taking it up. We're doing something new. We're doing something brand new and refreshing. Stay in touch. Contact us. DM us. Ask us questions. We will love to contact with y'all. We will love to speak to this boxing talk with y'all. Make sure y'all stay tuned in with the Puncher's Point. And without further ado, y'all know what to do. Stay on point with the Puncher's Point.